welcome back to my God. Another week's flown by, and I have to confess it's been a good one for me. I had a very interesting visit to the gallery. I'll speak more of that, at least mention details later in this video. And also I made great strides, sort of penultimate stage in completing my the renewal of my Brazilian permanent residency. This is something done in blocks of 10, but this will be the last time I complete the exercise, because when that block includes your 60th birthday, well, you get your residency card for keeps, which is very exciting. So it's been a good week. And last week, in my video, I was talking about a book, Transcend, written by Scott Barry Kaufman, a psychologist. And it's a sort of in-depth look at Abraham Maslow, I think that's how you pronounce it, Maslow, and the idea of transcendence as a sort of step beyond the ultimate level of his famous pyramid, self-actualization. So transcendence is really pushing out beyond your own ego and well, being of greater benefit to mankind. Something like that. At any rate, I will speak more of the book when I've actually finished reading it, and it's quite a dense read, interesting so far, but a lot to think about on each page, so it's not going to be a quick read, I don't think. Anyway, coincidentally, sort of tying in with that, YouTube popped up an interesting video in my via the algorithm, a video presented by Daniel Pink. You might be familiar with his work. He's a pop psychology writer, 7 best-selling books. Perhaps most famous is Drive, which looks at theories and contemporary thinking on the subject of human motivation. And he's very readable, very listenable, it has to be said as well. And not someone who seems to be trying to impress you with what a clever fellow he is, but rather he always comes across as someone offering you some good ideas that hopefully will be of benefit to you. And this video certainly was in that category. It had a bit of a clickbaity title, 7 questions to help you find your life purpose. And of course, in this modern age, we're all looking for our life purpose. And, well, that caught my attention as well. I don't know if that's why the algorithm picked out this video, maybe. But it definitely ties in with other stuff that I've been watching and the idea of transcendence. Now, one of those questions or suggestions is not the now much maligned follow your passion, or what is your passion? No, your passion has become a bit of a cliche, and as I say, something of a punching bag for the pop psychology world. No, doing what you're passionate about is not the thing that you should be doing, many people argue. But I guess that what they're really trying to say, if you were to boil it down, is the fact that you love doing yoga doesn't mean that you should give up everything and open a yoga clinic. That finding out how to live your life and what you should be doing, how you should fit in to society, your life purpose. We need to be a little bit more subtle. But it's not to say that we should ignore the things that we truly love doing, just that follow your passion is, well, it's a little vague. And the 7 questions that Dan Pink offers are a lot less vague. Now, will I remember them all? That's an interesting question in itself. I will remember one, and that's the important one for today. But I think trying to go through the list, he kicked off with, remember what you were, what weird things you did as a kid. You know, go back to the things that bizarrely fascinated you. And the secret might lie there. The second question was, think about the activities that you do where you completely lose track of time. I guess, for want of a better word, flow. And there's 5 more, 7 questions, 5 more. And I'll have to be honest, I don't think I'm going to remember all of them. Definitely a question was, imagine what you'll regret when you're 90. That's an interesting one. Nope, there's just one more that I can remember, and it's the important one, which is basically actually there's 2 that I remember, and that's sort of related. The third question he mentioned was, ask yourself what things that you do people are most grateful for and actually tell you. And if they don't tell you, and you're not sure, if it's not blindingly obvious for one reason or another, he does suggest perhaps asking people. And the other thing is to ask yourself where you can make the biggest contribution. And of course, that follows on beautifully from this idea of transcendence. That all of the questions that he raised seem to be things that I've certainly found myself talking about on this channel. The idea that we might find our purpose by thinking about how we played as children. That's a very, very powerful idea. But definitely something that I've mentioned before. And heaven knows I've spoken about the idea of flow, about looking at activities that really draw you in and in a magical sort of way. And of course, a clue to that might be putting the 2 together. So, sort of if you ask yourself when you were a kid, what you were doing when your mum might have started to shout rather loudly that you'd forgotten a particular chore. Certainly that was the case for me. Maybe not a chore, just that dinner was ready and then I failed to go down because I was caught up in something. It might have been chess. Who knows? But the questions that Dan Pink poses can definitely sort of be put together. Another one's come to mind, and that is ask yourself what you would do if money were no object. Of course, as he says, money is a thing. We have bills to pay, we have responsibilities. So perhaps our life purpose may lie outside what we do to earn a living. And when you put these ideas together, and it was perhaps one of the middle questions as well, this idea of finding where you can make the biggest contribution to your community at large, whether it's your immediate family, beyond. Now that's a very, very powerful idea. And just thinking about it, I think, well, it can give you a lot of answers to difficult questions. Now, I sort of found that quite validating, reassuring, gave me a warm, fuzzy feeling during the week when we had this visit to our gallery. Again, if you watch most or some of my videos, you may well be familiar with the fact that I'm a sculptor, and last year I finally opened the main hall in our home. I mean, it's a gallery. It is big. It's 14 by 10 meters, 140 square meters, 1,400 square feet. It's a big space, very high ceiling. And we opened it as a gallery, and we started having visits. And they always leave me feeling happier about things, feeling good about the world. Well, the visits so far have, at any rate. They're children that come to visit, mostly. Sometimes adults, and those go well too. But the school's visits are wonderful because children really are, they really are easy to read. Well, when they're happy, they certainly are. And when they are fascinated and curious, they let you know. And these visits are necessary for me in part because it does make me feel that the move I made, this desire to kind of, dare I say it, follow my passion, pursue sculpture full time, start on the long, winding, arduous mastery path with a view to becoming an ever-improved version of me, Neil the sculptor. It's not just an ego thing. It certainly does make me feel good about myself when I've done something. I think, well, wow, things are improving. I'm learning. I'm moving in the right direction. And this is a good thing, and I think it's something we all need. But when children come and visit, especially here in a small rural village in the northeast of Brazil, a place where this is something quite exceptional. I asked them a question, have any of them, and they were quite young actually, sort of 8 to 10, but I asked them, have you ever visited a gallery or a museum before? And not one had. It was a completely new experience for them. And it was a new experience at the school. So, and their teachers were very excited about the visit. And it did make me feel, yes, what I'm doing is of service. Not necessarily service in the sense of solving the world's problems, but dare I say it, if this moves their lives forward a little bit, well then, it's not just light entertainment. It's something profoundly meaningful. And it made me very excited this week. Now, is this going to, change the world? No. It was a small class. The visits don't happen that often. We're in a small, very unassuming part of the world. But I did think, if all of us, if part of our lives were simply doing something that in some small way is of benefit to our wider community, not to thousands of people, but a few. And if we all do that, well, that will change the world. And when we look at the terrible things that might be happening, and heaven knows there's enough of those, and I'm not going to mention them, very often you look at them and think it's because at the very core, the actions being taken are being done with the absolute opposite of service in mind. Not service, but exploitation. So there we are. Some thoughts from what has been for me a very good week. I do hope yours has been as good as mine. If not, if you find yourself stuck in a rut, well, think about how you might be able to help someone in however small a way, wherever. It doesn't have to be a great public display. It could even be anonymous. But whatever it is, I'd be very surprised if you did it, if you didn't immediately feel a little bit better about yourself. And just that is a good thing. So there we are. That's it for this week. I do hope your lives are filled with joy. And until next week, from a sunny Brazil.